Hey everyone, it's Ivan, KidBadger.com, here today to talk about all of those things that are just as good. That phrase, just as good, I think gets thrown around a lot in the industry. And either there's a piece missing off the back of it, or I don't think it means what you think it means. I think oftentimes people see something that is expensive, and since they can't afford it, ipso facto, it's a piece of crap. Whatever they have is just as good. That's not really how this works. Or for that matter, someone will see something and they have an emotional attachment to something else that is maybe similar, and whatever, that other one's a piece of junk. The one I have is just as good. Is it? Maybe, maybe not. Like Toyota Corolla and, I don't know, Ferrari. Like, yes, they both take fuel. Both have gas pedals. They both have keys, windows roll down. Each of them will go 100 miles an hour. Toyota Corolla, just as good. Like, no, they're not. I mean, you could say Toyota Corolla is just as good for me. And personally, I would be much happier with a Toyota Corolla than a Ferrari. Like, Toyota Corolla will probably go more places that I go than a Ferrari. Like, if you've ever been to Afghanistan, you'd be amazed what a Toyota Corolla can do. But people get wrapped up on just as good. And it comes down to a lot of things, like materials made, processes, things are made, like all of these factors come into play. So if you see something and both do X, this soft shell, like, okay, cool. Like, well, I'm gonna go get this other soft shell. All right, I'll tell you right now, this right here, $550. That's expensive. I get it, that is a lot of money. You're like, I could go buy 10 soft shells from Condor for that price. You know what, you could probably get a cool dozen if they were like ATAX or Cryptex. You could. You have a dozen soft shells. Here I am with this one soft shell. Chances are, over the lifetime of this, you will burn through that 10 or 12 soft shells that you got. And it won't be as warm. It is not made of the same material. It is not made to the same standards. So when you're on the range and a seam blows out and it's like, dang, like, now I gotta go take this back to the surplus store and see if I can exchange it. Like, that's fine, it doesn't matter. If I'm out somewhere far away, or the end users that this was made for, people hiking around with guns up in like Kunar, if seams blow out for them, like, no, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. One, there are consequences, like they can hype out now. No, it's unacceptable. That soft shell is not this soft shell. Yes, they're both soft shells. Yes, they both have some insulation to them. They both have zippers. Not the same thing. Are there things out there that are just as good? Absolutely. There are all kinds of products across every industry that are comparable, that are honestly pretty much just as good. But the Anderson arms lower with everything else cobbled together by a guy in a van down by a river, hashtag just as good. No, it's not, man. Like, I get it, probably has a trigger and a charging handle, but no, it's not just as good. But just as good for me. Totally valid. There's a lot of things that are just as good for me. That Toyota Corolla would be just as good for me. I have no need to drive 100 miles an hour, let alone over 100 miles an hour. Take a Toyota Corolla all day long. Just as good for me. All of that said, why'd I even make this video? Well, I don't know. Consider it a public service announcement. Maybe tired of scrolling through soldier systems and looking at all the just as good comments. Is it just as good, or is it just as good for you? Who knows? But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.